Most agencies are chasing unqualified leads and wasting time on no-shows. So what I'm going to show you today are 3 candidate tactics you can start using right now with your sales process that will get leads to actually self-qualify and show up ready to buy. So when are you supposed to actually use these tactics? Well, I'm going to show you exactly when to use them, and I'm also going to actually demonstrate each tactic for you live. So the main time to use these are when you want to filter time wasters from serious buyers, and if you're getting like a high no-show rate, obviously this is actually going to help you. So what I mean by time wasters are leads that book appointments, but either they never actually confirm the appointment, they don't answer your calls, they don't reply to your texts, they literally just ghost after booking, and they show up completely unqualified if they do show up. And these leads are clogging your pipeline and preventing real opportunities from actually getting through. And that's the gap we need to fix. Also, when you're trying to maximize your candidate utilization, which is even more important, right? If you've got a sales team, this is really critical, because if 50% of their calendar is filled with no-shows, then ultimately they're going to get frustrated, they're going to end up quitting, and you're going to lose some really good closers because they're wasting their time talking to people that are either unqualified or just wasting their time just for people that aren't even showing up. And the beautiful thing about these tactics is that they're going to solve both of these problems for you. So the reason these tactics work so well is, first of all, they add a very small amount of friction to the actual booking process. And so if someone isn't willing to jump through a few small hoops to actually book a call with you, then they definitely aren't going to jump through the biggest hoop, which is attending the call itself. Also, these tactics tie in human touch and reciprocity to the after booking process. Ultimately, if someone feels like you're just some huge organization that doesn't actually really care about them or their situation, they in turn won't care about you when it comes to something as simple as even showing up to an appointment that they've committed to, right? So think about something like Amazon. So many people return things to Amazon after using their products, which is essentially fraud, right? But they do it because they think it's not actually hurting anyone. When in reality, 60% of Amazon products are sold by small businesses. And if people knew that 60% of the products they were buying that they were returning was hurting small businesses, a business that's probably just trying to make ends meet like a mom and pop shop, they would think twice before essentially committing shopping fraud. So the closer we can get to someone feeling like they actually meeting a real person who cares about their business, the more likely they are to actually show up, or at least give you notice if they're going to cancel. Same thing as like meeting a friend. If you're meeting a friend that you've got rapport with, you're meeting them at a restaurant or whatever it is, there's a very, very, very high chance they're going to show up, or they're at least going to tell you if they're not going to show up. And the reason why is because there's a social contract there. They know you're a real person, they know you're busy, and they don't want to mess you about because there's a consequence to that. Where when it comes to booking meetings online, people don't feel that consequence. So we want to encourage that social contract as much as we can. And obviously cancellations aren't ideal, but at least if they cancel, it gives you a better chance to be able to reschedule them and understand what went wrong, and allows you to also optimize your slots better, especially again if you have a sales team. So the first tactic is the confirmation ladder. The problem is that most agencies and companies send a clearly automated reminder sequence which adds no value to the lead except reminding them about the actual appointment themselves, which they probably don't even care about if they're not willing to show up, right? So what should you do instead? So we have 3 things we specifically do in the confirmation sequence to maximize the sharp rates. So the first thing is actually making them take action, right? Whether that's messaging them saying, hey, please confirm that you're still good for this appointment, and they reply confirmed, or whether they've got to go to their Google Calendar event and click accept in the Google Calendar invite. Any kind of small amount of action you can get the lead to take before the appointment, again, it gives you a really clear hint on whether they're actually going to show up or not. If they're not willing to go to their Google Calendar and click accept, or just reply saying confirmed via text, like what's the chance of them actually being able to show up? Also, if you can get them to make some kind of small action like confirming the appointment, that social contract I was talking about earlier is even stronger because they've actually said, yes, I am still attending. I haven't just randomly booked an appointment and not replied. Like I'm definitely attending, which will make them feel even worse. They definitely confirmed and they still don't turn up. The second thing we do is we send them a personalized Loom video, giving them some initial solutions to their problems. And we do this as soon as the appointment's booked in, or as soon as we can after. It's important this is a personalized Loom and not just some like generic VSL or testimonial video. The reason for this is the law of reciprocity. If they think, oh my God, this guy's gone out of his way, actually creating me a 10-minute Loom personally for me, the least they can do is show up to the commitment they made. The thing is, don't send an actual custom Loom. Don't actually make a 10-minute Loom video for everyone, because that's going to take you way too much time. What you want to use instead is Loom AI. I have a whole video breaking this down. I'll put the link down below, which will show you step by step how to actually use Loom AI to do this. And the beautiful thing about sending custom Looms as well is obviously, first of all, they feel like you've actually made it for them. It's personalized to them. You even say their name at the beginning of the Loom, again, all using Loom AI. It makes them feel way more cared for. And the cool thing about it is you can actually see if they've watched the Loom and how many minutes they've actually watched of the Loom itself. So if your Loom is breaking down some really important information which warms them up for the sale, your sales team now knows which bits of information they've watched, and it arms them with that vital information before the call. And also you now know whether to ramp up the nurture to make sure they've watched it. Because if you've sent them a 5 to 10 minute Loom to watch before the appointment and they haven't watched it, that gives you a good indicator of how serious they are to actually buy the product. It also saves your sales team time on the call, because if rather than having to go through the same stuff over and over again, if there are some key parts that you have to mention every single call, add them to the Loom, and it saves you time on the sales call itself as well. as well. Again, I've linked a video down below which shows you exactly how to do this using Loom AI. And the third thing, obviously you want to send the normal kind of reminder messages and all that kind of stuff, but you want to make sure that you create urgency. So if someone hasn't confirmed the appointment, they haven't watched the Loom or anything like that, you want to make sure you send them a message which is like, hey, I see you haven't watched the Loom yet. I see you haven't confirmed the appointment yet. You haven't replied to any of our text messages, anything like that. So I'm going to open this spot up to someone else unless we hear from you in the next hour. And that pull away and that scarcity usually gets people to respond and confirm whether they're actually going to show. Obviously, if you don't hear anything from them after that, then that gives you a good indicator to open up the slot and make sure you don't clog your calendar. Obviously, an extra thing you can also do here is try calling the lead. Make sure you try and double dial them. I do usually do that about 24 hours before the appointment. If you haven't heard from them, you can do it 2 hours before, 3 hours before, depending on your niche. You can change it up, but I would definitely try and phone them as well after sending that text message as a final Hail Mary to try and get them on the phone. And worst case, try and rebook them in. But again, if they don't answer, delete it from the calendar because you don't want to be wasting your sales team's time with a no-show when you could be optimizing that better for leads who actually are serious about it. A quick bonus to this as well is if you haven't had any responses, try using an iMessage number to actually get a reply. So we use something called Link Blue, which I'll link below if you want to get access to that. And what this does is connects directly into your Go High Level account, and you can send SMS, GIFs, videos, even voice notes, all inside your Go High Level automations, but it's through a separate iMessage number. This comes across way more personalized and is far more likely to get a response. The reason for this is it looks like it was sent from a real iPhone, but in reality, it was sent through Go High Level automations. But because the lead thinks it's being sent from a separate phone number, because obviously all the reminders and everything they've received is through the Go High Level, the green number previously. Now they're receiving a message from a different number, which is an iMessage. It looks like you've actually picked up your iPhone and text them, which is obviously way more likely to get a response because of that human interaction. I'll actually show you a really quick example of this as well. So you can see here we've got a lead. My sales guy sent them this message. Again, this is all automated, by the way. We actually add the Loom link to a custom field in Go High Level, and then once that's been added, it sends the automation directly. So your sales guy hasn't got to worry about typing out the messages every time. All they've got to do is add the custom field, add a tag, then it'll send the messages automatically, which is really good. So you can see here we've got, hey blah blah, I've just finished making you a personalized Loom which I need you to watch before we speak. Very important. Then there's the link to the Loom. Please let me know once you've watched it so I know we're all set for our call. Speak soon, right? The lead didn't reply to that. So then with the iMessage number, which wasn't me, this is all done through automations, and what it does is it watches to see if we got a response. If Go High Level sees there was no response from this lead, we then send them on the iMessage number, hey blah blah, and this is my sales guy's name, Ryan. Ryan said he sent you a quick Loom breakdown of our system. Just want to make sure you've watched it before the call, as it will save you a bunch of time on the call itself. Here's the link in case you missed it. And that's the link there. So the lead received the normal messages via the Go High Level number, but then when we saw there was no response from them, we then sent them automatically a different message, which looks like it comes from me now rather than my sales guy, and it's through the iMessage. So it's a completely different number and it comes through blue on their phone. So it looks like I've actually picked up the phone and I'm trying to get her to actually watch the Loom. Just a quick side note while I'm screen sharing, the other cool thing, so with Link Blue, again, you've got this like iMessage feature here. You can literally send iMessages directly in. Like I said, it does GIFs, it does videos, it does all that kind of stuff. And you can even phone with that number as well. So it says call with Link there, as you can see. And you can set all this up inside the Go High Level automations. It works really, really well. So the second tactic is a bit of a simple one, but loads of people miss this. They're worried about adding too much friction to their forms, and ultimately they get loads of unqualified people. So you want to make sure inside your forms themselves, don't just have drop downs, but you also want to have a couple of questions where they have to type things in. So for example, you might ask them things like, what was your experience like with your last agency, right? And try and get a couple of sentences out of them. In an ideal world, what do you want your monthly revenue to be? How many jobs do you want to be taking on every month? And also ask them, what do you think is the biggest bottleneck from stopping you from getting to that goal? Yes, you may see a slight drop in booking rates because of this. However, it will give you a really good gauge on how serious that lead is depending on their answer. If they type like one word in, then it gives you an indicator of like, hey, maybe this guy isn't as serious as I thought. If he writes a whole essay, then you're like, okay, this guy's clearly committed and it's worth keeping on the calendar regardless. And the thing to keep in mind with all of this stuff is obviously your niche. Every niche is different. So take all these things I'm saying to you and think about it from your niche's point of view. And the second thing as well is that make sure you tie this in with the other data. So for example, if someone's confirmed the appointment, they're responding to text, but they gave you some small replies in the booking form, it's fine. Keep them on the calendar. Like they're still probably serious. But if you haven't heard anything from them, they gave you like a one-word answer in the booking form itself, and they haven't confirmed the appointment or anything like that, then that gives you a good indicator of how serious they are and how likely they are to actually show up to the appointment, and whether it's actually worth canceling that appointment and opening up the slot for someone else. Now, the third tactic is called the ghost calendar. This is more of an advanced tactic, and I credit this to Charlie Morgan. This won't actually help you with your show up rate, but it will help you with your calendar optimization, especially if you've got a sales team. So obviously the problem here is that if a lead books, but they don't confirm, they just ghosted you completely, they don't cancel, they might show you don't know what's going on, but your calendar is already clogged, maybe full for the day, right? Well, the solution here is to have a duplicate duplicate calendar system. So how it works is every rep has two calendars. They have a real one and a ghost calendar. They have completely separate emails, completely separate Zoom rooms. They're completely independent. It's as if you've got two separate reps, but it's not. For example, if your rep's called James Smith, you'll have two separate emails. You might have one called james@yourcompany.com, and you have another one called jamessmith@yourcompany.com, right? Again, they're two completely separate things. They've got two completely separate Zoom rooms, two completely separate Calendly logins or Go High Level logins, whatever it is. They're treated as two completely separate reps, right? But the rep has access to both of them calendars. And so what you do is you have the main calendar, which is where the normal bookings go in. But then what you also have is a separate calendar. And with that separate calendar, you break up the slots into hour chunks. So 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you have every hour that's individually blocked. And then if you have a booking on your main calendar and that booking is giving you indicators that they're not going to show, they haven't confirmed, they haven't watched the Loom video, they're just not replying to anything, whatever it is, then what you do is you literally just delete the slot off the ghost calendar, right? And so what will happen now is that slot is now opened up because in your calendar software, you're going to have both of them emails as two separate reps, right? So you have all of them tied into your one calendar. And then what happens is when you delete that slot, it actually opens up that slot again on your calendar system. And so now all new leads, when they open up your calendar, they'll see that slot available and they'll book into it, right? But at that point, you've now got two leads in the same slot. And so what you need to do is ask yourself which one is more qualified, which one confirmed, which one is more likely to actually close. Again, that's based on the quality of the answers they gave you in the booking form, whether they've confirmed for the appointment, whether they've watched the Loom, all that kind of stuff, right? Then what you do is you join the Zoom room of the better lead. If that lead, the better lead shows up, great. But obviously, if the other lead also shows up, they're in a bit of a situation because they're both waiting for you to join the Zoom, apart from you're on the Zoom with one of them, and the other one, you're essentially no-showing that other lead. So then what you do is you have a tag system set up in Go High Level or whatever software you use, where your sales guy adds a tag, something like Ghost Calendar. When they add that tag, it will send a message, a text, and an email to that lead saying, hey, sorry, I'm having some technical issues with my Zoom. Can we please reschedule for a different time? And you obviously make sure that the text, the email sound really nice. Again, make sure it's all automated. You don't want your sales guy having to write these out because they're on a meeting with the actual better lead right now. So they've got to give them their full attention. So it's got to be something so simple. Just add a tag. You have it all automated. It gets sent out, send them the reschedule link and hope that they actually turn up. The other thing is if you've got appointment setters, which you should have, also you want to send them a notification to the appointment setter when that tag gets added, and they'll literally just try and double dial them straight away. They should be available because they're literally sitting on Zoom waiting for you anyway, and your setter can just explain the situation, explain there's a technical issue, and then get them to actually reschedule the booking for you. The critical thing to keep in mind here is that when that lead does reschedule with you, make sure you mark it as read in your calendar. You never want to no-show the same person twice. If you've marked them as read, then you know that that one you have to join, and they're definitely probably going to join because they showed up previously anyway. And so obviously prioritize that lead in every single way you can. You also, it just comes down to the ethics of it. You don't want to disrespect people. You don't want to be getting bad reviews or hurting your reputation. And by the way, the full technical breakdown of how I do this ghost calendar, again, I've already made a video for this. I'm going to put a link down below so you can watch that. And I explain with screen share, step by step, how to set all this up. So to quickly recap, the first tactic is the confirmation ladder. Make sure you've got them 3 touches in place. You want to make sure you're getting some sort of action from them, whether it's confirming on the calendar, replying confirmed, anything like that. The second thing is the personalized Loom video, which builds that reciprocity and that human touch, makes them way more likely to actually show and warms them up for the sales call because they've already watched some of the stuff that you wanted to go through on the call itself. And the third thing is using the link blue messaging system inside Go High Level with the iMessages. It gets way more responses. So if someone's ghosting you, try using that and you're way more likely to actually get a response from them, again, because of that human touch. The second thing is actually qualifying the lead properly on the booking form, making sure it's not just drop down questions, but something they've actually got to write into, and that will really help you gauge the quality of the leads and help you utilize your calendar better. And the third thing was the ghost calendar, making sure you've got the duplicate calendar set up and you can prioritize the quality and make sure that if someone does book into your calendar and you don't think they're qualified or they just don't think they're going to show up, you can at least make sure that space is still available for someone new. And the key thing here is don't try and implement all these tactics at once. Just pick one of them for now. Just pick one tactic to implement this week. Get it working, see how your show rates change, and then add the next one. If you try and do it all at once, first of all, you're just way less likely to actually do it. And the second thing is that you won't have the data. So obviously make sure you're tracking your data. I'm always preaching this, and track the data and see how it affects your show rate. If you do all 3 things at once and your show rate goes up massively, you won't even know what it was, or even if it drops down, you won't know what it was. So do one thing at a time. You're way more likely to actually do it. And the second thing, you can track the data and see how things improve. So like I said, the Loom AI video and the Ghost Calendar videos are both down below. I'll also add them here to the screen so you can just click on them straight through. And make sure you subscribe for more content like this, and I'll see you on the next one.